Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, hopefully, it's been a while, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there? Are you there, Ian?
Hello?
There you are.
Okay. Sorry, my phone is doing this stupid thing where it randomly mutes itself. And I have to, go into the whole phone system and, unmute myself. So,
well, at least it's
if
not
I go
as bad
randomly
as it was
quiet,
last
that's
time.
why.
Yeah. It's not as bad as actually a faulty switchboard, but we're here, and it's good. It's good to be back. We've had a little time off. Again, life gets in the way of things, and we're not here all the time like we want to be. But we're here, and we're here to do a special review for our Monsters Day marathon in preparation for Mother's Day this weekend. So we always do this. We usually do marathons for the month, but this one's good enough. And I think we have ourselves a pretty good film to discuss that encapsulates the Monsters Day review like we usually do these. Sometimes not so much, but this one I think hits that fine line where we get two for the price of one. So I'm looking forward to reviewing this one to see how it turns out. But yeah, our film is a little bit unknown in a sense. It's not like under the radar, but it is kind of under the radar as well. So I don't know what I'm saying, Ian. But there's not a lot of people. There's not that much talk about this one as opposed to another one which I had planned. There's a film from Australia called The Tank, and I was interested in that one. There's a handful of movies I was thinking of, but I just, not that much is really out on this one. I just decided, you know what, we usually go under the radar anyway with the films we choose to review on the show nowadays, so I figured, why the hell not? And but our film is Circle Line from the beginning of the year, 2023. It's a Singapore creature feature film, and it's a short watch. I'll just say that up front. It's very short, but it gets to the point, even though there's a slight slowdown towards the end here, but we'll get into it. All right, so Circle Line from 2023. It starts out in 2003 where we're seeing this kid who has this weird pet lizard. And then it cuts away, and apparently, I guess this is what happened. Again, I have no idea because it's there and then it's not. I'm assuming that his father worked in the subway tunnels building this new subway line, the monorail, the rails and everything down there, and they decide to close it down. And I guess he takes the lizard creature and just leaves it down there in the tunnels. And so now, 20 years later, modern day, we're introduced to a handful of characters. I'm just going to call her Mom because her name's not even mentioned once in the film until you look on IMDb, because you're wondering, like, wait a second, what's the lead character's name? It's Yi Ling, but throughout the whole film, it's just Mom. So I'm just calling her Mom. So we have Mom and her son Lucas. And years prior, I don't want to say years prior, but they were in as the film progresses, the son, Lucas, he has sort of I wouldn't say a disability, but something happened to him that happened between him and the mother in a car accident, and he doesn't really say anything. And she's a nurse, and we're also introduced to a bunch of characters who runs the subway tunnels and this big conglomerate engineers and all that who are trying to work on the system that the subway tunnels aren't working properly, and they're having like these shutdowns and restarts, and they're wanting to get a new system, and they have to go to the higher ups, and there's just a lot of stuff in the way, and that subplot comes into play a little bit later on with another certain character. And so basically, the mom goes and picks up her son Lucas at her mother's house, and they get on the subway, and we're introduced to a bunch of different people on the subway, and not that really matters in a sense. So they get on the subway, and it basically has another malfunction, and it goes down the closed down subway tunnels from 2003, and it's locked. It's just displacement, and basically what happened, as the film tells you, is that it goes down and it tries to find another route, trying to find itself back onto the main subway line, and then stopping to figure out what happened. Well, they go down this tunnel, which is not completed, so it's just they hit everything and they stop dead center. And so they're trying to figure this out because the people at the engineer, control station are like, they're trying to find this subway train that's just off the map. And sooner or later, one of the guys, he's the older gentleman, he decides, you know what, I'm just leaving, I'm going away, and he walks down the tunnel, and we're introduced to our creature of the film, which is the best way I can describe it is it looks like a better version of the creature from The Relic, but it has a more rotund, weird face to it. I don't exactly know how to describe the face. It's almost like if you take your fingers and interlock them, like with knuckles out. It's sort of like that. Sort of like making a mouth in a sense with your knuckles. It's a pretty, honestly, for what it is, for the way that it was, it's actually not too bad of a creature. I mean, like I said, it's definitely better looking than it did, than it looks in The Relic, because again, that's 97, and graphics weren't the greatest then, and it doesn't really hold up too well in 97. But this one, for what they're trying to do, it looks decent. There's a few moments here and there where it's a little but that's just when it's like in an attack mode and throwing people around, where it looks a little bad. But nonetheless, this is just a pretty straightforward creature feature where they're trying to outrun a lizard creature in the subway tunnels, and the mom, and she's trying to do her best to protect her son, and she has the other people, which is one is the daughter of the subway constructor who runs who's like the overseer of the collaboration, and he's going to go look for her because he's trying to figure out what happened to her. And it's pretty straightforward. I mean, excuse me there, I got to catch my throat. And it just, again, it's fairly straightforward creature feature. If you go into this expecting know what to expect, you're not going to get anything else out of it because it's pretty straightforward. They're in the tunnel, they run from creature, and then they have the mom and trying to protect her son at the end of it. And I thought, honestly, for what it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's exactly what it is. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward creature feature movie in a subway tunnel, and I like those. You know, just like simplistic creature features. You know, like I like The Relic for what it is, and this one kind of hits that same stride a little bit. There's a little bit like The Host in there as well, and just all those, you know, Singapore creature feature films. You know, like Jaws. You know, even though that's more of a giant boar, but it just kind of hits those same marks of those Nuzula, the rat monster, all those other ones. It's sort of in the same similar vibe as these. And again, it's just a mom trying to protect her son, and then at the end of it, it's two moms fighting it out, and that's about it. And again, it's not too bad. And as I mentioned earlier, there's some instances where the monster looks good, like later on when they're having a stare down, that looks pretty good. Where you're like thinking,
right,
damn,
yeah.
this is actually pretty damn good. I mean, it's no, you know, it's better than a lot of Asylum shit, but it looks pretty good. And then there's instances where it does look kind of iffy. As I said, when the creature goes on attacks and it's like bumping into things or throwing things, where it looks a little, you know, just like, you know, this is like, I don't know if it has that much throwing power where you can just toss a human being down a subway tunnel that, you know, that velocity and that speed. It just looked a little, But there's like, it has its moments, especially when it first starts to show up, and then when it gets into the subway train, that's a pretty good scene. But again, it doesn't really do much else. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward creature feature, and if you like, you know, just like simplistic monster movies, it's pretty straightforward and gives you everything you need. It's not great, it's not bad, but it's like right down the middle where it's like, it's not too bad. And again, it's like 74 minutes. It's very short. You're in and out, and it does exactly what it needs to do. Again, there is a little bit of a slowdown during the 40 to 50-minute mark, where it's just them going through subway tunnels, and like where it's the dad trying to find his daughter and the mother trying to find the son, and they're just walking. So there's a little slowdown, but it does pick back up, and it does get into that monster movie fare where it's a showdown with the creature at the end. And it's not too bad. Ian, your thoughts, and we'll go back and forth.
Well, it kind of reminds me of like a decent version of a sci-fi film. Just like a little, you know, and it was pretty straightforward. Like you said, my biggest fault was with the movie was the slowdown, because it I was like, okay, I get it, we're in a subway and you're walking, but like that's really the only complaint I really have. I'll take it as a win, you know. I did kind of enjoy this movie. I mean, it wasn't bad or anything. I mean, it's not like perfect or good, but it was a movie, and that was actually fairly enjoyable. I did like the whole mother trying to get to her son. I did kind of find that weird, just random, like, flashback from the lizard. I thought that was kind of odd. Like, I mean, I kind of figured that's what it was when, early on what was going to happen. When we saw, when the lizard was in the tank, and I was like, okay, so that's the creature. But it didn't really go anywhere. Like, the kid didn't recognize it, the mother didn't recognize it, and it was kind of like... No, it was thinking that the little boy, the Lucas, was its owner from 2003, and that's what it wanted its owner back. But see, I think I might have... I thought that was the kid. I must have, like, misunderstood what the theme was.
Yeah,
The
only thing that I don't have is, like, again, the beginning, like how did it get there? I mean, that's the only, I'm assuming it was because he saw it in the cage and he took it with him for some reason, even though it looked like it automatically attacked, like, even the babies later on. It's like when the mother's going after Lucas, I mean, the little babies are attacking the adults, so I don't know what kind of fucking lizard it is. So, it's like, whoever thought that was a good idea, like, you know what, that's a perfect lizard for my son, who's on oxygen and has a disability, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just seems it's an odd looking lizard, even though it looks cool. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. I mean, it looked good for what it's wanting to do. Like I said, the way that it looked and its mouth and it's like its eyes are near its nose and it has like this big sort of, you know, crocodile almost mouth to it. But like, again, it's like very rotund and robust and just like has like teeth inside of its, you know, like near its throat, and it has a weird like square type of throat to it as well. It's a very interesting looking creature design. It's definitely, you know, one I kind of didn't expect. I thought it was like wow, it actually looks pretty interesting. And the way that it stalks too, because when it was there in the subway car, when it's looking down at Lucas, and you know, there's a lot of interesting parts there where it's just like it's just staring down people and doesn't really attack them until necessary. And I thought it looked, again, like I said, I thought it did well for what they were trying to achieve with the monster aspect of the film. The last act was pretty good. And again, again, it's just like it's very simplistic. They don't really go out of their way to make it anything over-the-top crazy. It's just a perfectly straightforward creature feature set in a subway tunnel with a mother trying to protect her son, trying to get her son back, and there's a showdown. And it stays in its lane. That's a term we usually say a lot of the time, but it stays there. It doesn't do anything crazy. They have their subplots, you know, subplots here and there with the conductors. Even though after they find the mother, again, I don't want to give too much away, but again, they just don't really go that further with it unless they continue to make a sequel, which they kind of leave off on. Which I could see them going back to doing something else, but I guess with a different set of people. I don't know. But yeah, it's nothing. Again, there's not a lot there to really, because it's not a bad film. It's not a good. You know, it's just perfectly balanced in the middle. You know, where it's just that was a good 75 minutes, and nothing really too bad. I mean, people can go watch this and think, oh my God, it's terrible. Like, it's not terrible. All right, it's perfectly fine. Again, I've seen some shit. All right, I've seen some pretty bad creature features. You know, I've watched Dark Moon Rising. I've watched. Again, a lot of the Asylum stuff is worse than this, and it's just ugh. You know, I've watched Ape versus Monster. All right, there's some pretty bad ones out there. And this one is not too bad. This one's perfectly fine. They do exactly what they need to do. It's nothing extravagant, as I mentioned, and it's perfectly fine creature feature. You know, it's just you're in and you're out, and there's really, again, it's very simplistic. They don't go out of their way to make it any crazy. You know, it's not like Mimic or anything like that where they have to make it this big elaborate thing. But yeah, it was perfectly fine. And again, it was like, I didn't expect it to be like, oh, it's only 79 minutes. Like, whoa, it's only 74 minutes. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I can't really fault the film in any way because it's exactly kind of what I wanted. I wanted a monster movie. I wanted a creature feature, and it does that, and it doesn't shy away from that. I mean, yeah, there's that slowdown leaning towards the hour mark, but that's about the only part that's just kind of, because we were doing good. We were introduced to the characters, and then they just killed all the characters. Minor spoilers. But in the subway, the subway train itself, that was a good scene where it was chasing down the patrons of the subway car, and then you just get to that point, where the creature's there and they're talking and it's like hovering above them, listening, and there's just like a lot of good moments in the film, but there's just that
that
slow
was a
down
good moment.
around the hour mark, and then it picks back up. So you have to, I guess, again, it's a catch-22 where it's solid, and then you just go with that little dip, where you're like, well, here we go. We're going up that, as we say, we're going up that coaster. We just have to wait, and it's a pretty big wait. 20 to 25 minute wait before anything interesting actually happens with the creature again, because it's a chase game, But again, I didn't really. Again, besides that, I didn't have too many flaws with the film. I thought it was pretty good, and like as I said before, you're in and you're out, and you're on with your day. I watched it earlier, like, well, now what am I going to do? And I've just sometimes you just never know. Like some of these, we get these long ones are just like, oh my god, and this one just like, even though it did have that slowdown, it's cool. We got through it pretty quick. It's just like, all right, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I was, I put it on, and I was like, okay, because I try to time it to where, I still have some time before our show, so that way it's still fresh on my mind, but I'm not going to be, like, still watching the movie while we're talking. And I was like, okay, it's 10:30. I was like, this movie's probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So let's, and I turned it on and I saw 1 hour and 19. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, most of that's probably going to be, toward the end, it's going to be just credits. So it's like, what, an hour and 14? It's like, damn. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's a quick watch. And, and what I like about it is that it keeps it interesting enough to make you, like suck you into it a little bit, where it doesn't feel like it's dragging out. But I'm also kind of glad that it was kind of simple. I mean, I do wish they did a little bit more, but I'll take what we get. Because there's just some movies that try to throw in too much.
Yeah, they balanced it out well to give you enough for the backstory of certain individuals and like the hardships like of Mom and Lucas and the accident. Now she's going to be a stronger person, and so she has that aspect, making her stronger and trying to protect her son where she couldn't protect her son the first time. And it's just, again, and then you have the father, even though his arc was kind of because of like, why didn't you just leave? You could have left too. I mean, he just stood there, and looked. Like, you're up in the ladder, and you could have climbed there, up there pretty quickly, where you locked yourself down there. But I digress. I mean, it's just like little stupid, monster movie things that happen that normally happen, where like someone's trying to save someone. It's just cliched. But again, that's what it is. It's just monster movie trope. It happens. So you just like, whatever. It's normal. But yeah, it's not a terrible film. I mean, it's better than a lot of the Asylum shit. Definitely better. I mean, the creature looks pretty damn cool. Even though, like I said, it's just like a weird take of the monster from The Relic, but it has a weird, protruding, weird-shaped, like dinosaur-ish head. It's a very odd-looking creature, but it looks cool when it's just standing there, menacing, looking, staring down at the mom.
Yeah.
So and again, like I said, it looks cool when it's like going after things. There's a few little instances here and there, as I mentioned, where it just doesn't look that great. But like when it's running, that one didn't look good. When it gets the son and Lucas and starts running down the subway tunnel, there's like, ooh, that's definitely a Battle Dogs looking run. There's your one to put it to, Battle Dogs from the Asylum. So it's just like, again, there's some shit ones out there. This one's definitely one of the better creature features I've watched here lately, or here as of recently. But yeah, I can't really complain too much about it. It does exactly what it's supposed to, and it hits all the marks that you'd want out of a creature feature. I mean, there's a good showdown near the end, and even though it's kind of short-lived in a sense because it's just, we're going to get in the car. But nonetheless, I mean, what else can you do? Just set it ablaze.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they kind of never gave the mother and son resolution in a sense. It's just like, oh, did you hear about this? And like that. They kind of didn't give no, like, really, again, maybe that's in the sequel if it happens, but who knows. But it's just like, there really wasn't no resolution to anything besides leaving things sort of like, oh, they're out, they survived. That's another kind of downfall, I guess, because of its short nature. But, again, I can't really complain too much. I mean, it's perfectly fine. I feel like I'm going around in circles now. But Ian, you got any final thoughts before we decide to call this a show?
I mean, not really. I mean, the movie was just so simple that, like, there's nothing really to, like, bite a hold of, like.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not like.
Yeah, we can't. There's nothing to bitch
stuff.
about.
Yeah,
like,
there's no really.
I mean,
tangents.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to like the creature design, when I saw it, and we saw the inside of the mouth, and like, they made a point to show like the whole body a lot. And I was like, they put a lot of thought into that character design and, how it moved, everything. And I was like, I give them props for that because a lot of the times I see these creature movies, especially like one with a lower budget, it's almost like they don't really know what they want to do with the creature or how they wanted it to look. And I'm really glad that, they put that much time and effort into something like this. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you'll have to look up the creature from the Relic and just think of it like that, but like the weird head, because it looks very similar to it. But that's just the only way I can describe the film. The creature at the moment is, without the weird protruding head and the weird mouth thing. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not too bad. If you're just wanting a simple, very simplistic, straight-to-the-point monster movie with, I mean, some decent creature attacks and an interesting-looking monster, I mean, I say give it a watch. It's only 74 minutes, so you're in and out, like as we mentioned. I mean, is it anything groundbreaking? No, but it does its purpose, and it's just a simple, straightforward monster movie with some okay attacks, some okay moments, and it's pretty, all around. It's fine. It has a little bit of a slowdown towards the hour mark, but that's just a lot of running from one place to the other from our two characters doing stuff. It's nothing. There's no, you're going to have a slowdown here and there. You're not going to be able to keep it, quick-paced all the way through. But I thought, for what it was, I mean, that's the minor qualm about the film is just that it's 20 minutes in between everything happening because it's just pretty straightforward before it gets to the slowdown part. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it for what it was. Ian enjoyed it. And I think it's definitely one that, again, as I said, nothing groundbreaking, but it's a decent watch. And that's what you want kind of with a creature feature. You just want to be entertained, and you get that with everything with this one, besides, again, the slowdown. But nonetheless, I think that's going to do it for this episode, Ian, of the show. As always, it's great talking with you. I know it's been a few weeks, but it's always great to chat for an hour and just shoot the shit. And I hope everything's well with the family, and I hope everything's well to our listeners. Hope your daily lives are going well, and we thank you for allowing us to come into your homes and give our opinions on these random movies. So with that said, thanks everyone, and we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.